All right. So if you could, without revealing too much, what is the premise of the movie?
So the movie, it's called Timberlands, and it's, I guess, sort of like, like the Taylor Sheridan world. He does like Yellowstone, 1883, 1923, all those kinds of shows. It's definitely got those modern Western elements to it. And it's like the logging industry meets the rodeo world meets the native indigenous land of Oregon, all kind of in this modern Western family drama. Essentially, I can give a little bit more. Essentially, it's this one family. They're an Oregon-based family. The father runs like one of the biggest logging companies in Southern Oregon. He kind of goes head to head with this native family, who are also, the mother is the chief of the local tribe, and they kind of are like, their family's logging, the other family's trying to protect their land, and then both families' youngest daughters are going head to head in barrel racing at the local rodeo. So it's kind of these like proxy wars for bigger wars going on.
Wow. And so
Yeah,
I know that you brought it back to Southern Oregon since you graduated from Phoenix Talent, correct?
yeah.
So how was this inspired by your upbringing here?
Well, my dad works for a mill, and he's worked for a mill for a long time. But I feel like in Oregon, anybody that lives in Oregon, that timber kind of built Oregon. We have like the Portland Timber soccer team, we have Stumptown Coffee. I mean, I feel like everything in Oregon has a pine tree logo. Like it's kind of all wood, trees, etc. And so I got kind of fascinated and interested in the timber industry a little bit and started doing some research on that. But then at the same time, Oregon is known for, we have like, it's either 9 or 12 still federally recognized tribes in Oregon. And I was really curious, just with like the Rogue River and the salmon treaties and the Klamath tribes. I got a little curious about how logging has impacted native land and tribal land, and I thought it'd be an interesting story to kind of see how the two work with each other and navigate each other. And yeah, so I guess a lot of it was inspired just about growing up around trees and the river. And I lived in Klamath Falls for a little bit too. I went to school at OIT. So I think I just got really interested in the impact of some of this stuff on native land.
Yeah, certainly. And in saying that, I know that you did consult the Klamath tribes here in Oregon in order to make this movie. So how did you work to represent them and what were those communications like?
Well, we worked with Kenneth Ruthhart, who was our native consultant on the film, and he's worked a lot with the Klamath tribes with their housing department. And he was an amazing resource. I mean, he connected us with Seven Feathers Casino and got them to help and come on board. And then he also got us connected, and actually Ray Robison, who's a local producer, got us connected with this amazing man who from Cow Creek, who he wasn't from Klamath, but he like brought in this beautiful native canoe and that we used in the film, and we did like a sage ceremony with the canoe. And then in terms of just Klamath in general, I mean, we had Ken Smith, who's worked with the Klamath tribes. He came in and worked with us for a day. And we didn't use the Klamath tribe as our tribe in the film. We used a fictional one. But just with the connection with Kenneth and Ken and Ray getting us the connection with the Cow Creek guy who came out, we just had a lot of like different information and education that came with those consultants. One in particular, Verdella Wright. She is a Klamath liaison with the elders. So she actually knows one of the last elders who speaks the Klamath Modoc language. And she came in and like helped us kind of add in some of that language, some of those last words that they still speak out there. So lots of that integration coming in from Klamath and different surrounding tribes.
Yeah, in order to tell a realistic story, how did you work to create that representation through talking with them?
Yeah, I think for Verdella was really helpful. She actually shared a lot of these like treaties and just some of these things that have happened since the 1800s in the logging industry and how it's still impacting them in Klamath today. Um, and we didn't do any sort of recreation of any of these things. We made a lot of things fictionalized, but it was important to us to like actually understand the history of these impacts and make sure that our story is in line with what has actually happened to some degree. Because we didn't want it to be a fictionalized story where like at the end like the white man wins or this person wins. We wanted it to be a story where it was like, how have both of these families experienced life and how have they impacted each other's lives, and can we tell a story where you have a better understanding of both families. But with doing that, we had to find true facts, from what has happened and impacts that have actually been made on some of these lands in Klamath and in the Oregon area.
Yeah. And so, what were some other things you drew inspiration on in the making and filming of this movie for the area?
Well, we did lots of rodeo stuff. We filmed out at the expo in Central Point, and I grew up in 4-H and going to rodeos and around horses and all sorts of stuff like that. So I feel like for me, I drew a lot of inspiration from the rodeo and farm animals and farm life in general. I'm sorry, my dog is playing fetch with me right now.
Really
So
good.
so yeah, we I felt really inspired by like the barrel racing aspect. I mean, the day we shot that big rodeo, we had a huge rodeo scene. I think we had like 115 local extras come to the rodeo. And we had so many locals come with their horses, and that was something I really wanted to use in the film, was like a lot of locals with their horses, because in Southern Oregon, I mean, everybody has horses or they do 4-H or FFA, and I wanted to add that into the film. That was really important to me. And then I mean, I really wanted to bring in people from Klamath too. So like Verdella, this woman I'm talking about, she came in and actually acted in our film. And that was important to me to have locals represented in the film as best as we could. Ray Robinson even makes it in the film. He's a local too.
Yeah, he told me that he's carrying a big check in it, and he was very excited.
Yeah, he loved that.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And so, how did it feel to be able to bring this big aspect of like, this feature film home?
It was so cool. I mean, I shot another feature film last September in Southern Oregon in Shady Cove, called Last Tour Home, which will be out later this year. But so it was my second time actually coming back to the Rogue Valley and shooting something. But I mean, this one was so special because we had Wes Studi with us, who is an Oscar-winning actor. He's like the first native to win an Oscar. He was in Last of the Mohicans, Hostiles. I mean, he's a hero to all of us. He's amazing. And so bringing in these incredible actors, specifically our native cast, we had Irene Bedard, who was the original voice of Pocahontas. She was in it, and Tanea Beatty, who she was a series regular on Yellowstone for a while. And then we had Owen Crowshoe, who just starred in Kevin Costner's New Western Horizon. So this native cast that we brought in, I felt like just so honored. Like I felt like I was working with my heroes, and then to bring them to my home like was so cool, and I felt so much pride to have like curated such a beautiful cast and bringing them in and showing them my hometown. We all stayed in Jacksonville too, so I was prideful to my hometown and showing them what I was doing. And then I was prideful to our cast and crew to be like, this is where I grew up and we're making a beautiful film here. So yeah, it was a really cool feeling.
That's incredible. And so, what do you want viewers to take away from the movie?
Um, I mean, I hope that there are questions after. Like, I hope people go and research. Like, I hope they're like, logging in Southern Oregon and uh, tribes in Southern Oregon. And I don't know. I hope that people want to research. And I hope that we did enough. fictional stuff with enough like reality that people feel like they got a generalized story that makes them want to research more in depth about parts of the story. And I also hope that people want to learn about the environment and about the tribes and about the history of the tribes and the history of Southern Oregon and the people that came here first. And I also hope they really enjoy the film.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have like a date when like this is supposed to come out, or just like a window of time, or?
Well, we just started post production, so it's being edited now, and I think the goal would be to have it out in the fall if we can get a release, and we definitely want to have a local premiere. So once it comes out, we'll probably do like a local red carpet and yeah, premiere in Southern Oregon, which would be really fun. But I think the goal would be like September to November of this year. I guess now it's 2025, which is crazy, but we are in post production. And also, just a side note, if anyone locally is interested in being an executive producer or a donor or investor in the post production of our film, we're looking to piece together a little extra money for our post production. So if anybody locally wants to help us out, that would be amazing.
For sure. And then, what is the significance of Southern Oregon to the story? Like, what is it here that can make the movie that it couldn't make anywhere else?
Well, I mean, I think the history of the logging industry in Oregon. I mean, there's logging everywhere, but specifically in Oregon with the trees we have and the Rogue River and the tribes. Like, I think the relationship between logging and the tribes is very, very unique in Southern Oregon. So just story wise, I don't think it would have been right to try and replicate that anywhere else where the history didn't live. And then aesthetically, I just, I think because I'm an Oregonian, I feel extra, extra prideful of how beautiful it is there. So just cinematically, I mean, like the Rogue Valley is surrounded by mountains and trees and water, and it's just to me so beautiful. And so many films get shot in Canada that are meant to be the Pacific Northwest, Oregon specifically. And I don't know, to me that just doesn't feel right because I'm like, Oregon is Oregon. Like everybody knows that what Oregon looks like. And if you shoot in Canada, I can always tell. Like when I see a show that's shot in Canada that's meant to be Oregon, I'm always like, that's Canada. That's not Oregon. And so, yeah, to me, it just, I really wanted to showcase where I grew up and how beautiful it is, and share my home with filmmakers. And I would love to see more bigger budget films come to Oregon too. Like my production company has a couple films in the works, and I feel very passionate about coming back to Oregon again and shooting in Oregon. It's just such a good place, and the people are so amazing and so helpful. And the amount of people we had like donate pizzas or food or their space, their homes. Like, you just can't beat Oregonians. They're the best.
For sure. And then,
Yeah.
your production company, what would that be, by the way? Like,
It's called Fireside Film Collective. I run it with my fiance, and it's an Oregon LLC. So, but now we're in New York City, so we're kind of operating from home here. But yeah, we like the Western genre. We write a lot of our scripts by campfire. So we're, which is funny, we're in New York now. We probably won't be having any campfires anytime soon. But yeah, that's our production company.
nice. And then, how many days was the film shot in?
We shot the film in 2 weeks. It was really fast. We were working really, really long days, and we shot some B-roll footage earlier in the year, just of like scenery, and we went and shot a rodeo in Arizona actually earlier this year. So we've gathered other footage at other events that we'll plug into our film, but the principal photography with like the actors was shot in 2 weeks. So really fast and really long days, and our actors would probably say the same thing because we would just be like, all right, next scene, you get 2 takes and we got to go to the next scene. But luckily we had an incredible cast. So they were able to like nail everything on the first take, which was great.
Wow, this just sounds like, everything all around it was just incredible and like tightly wound. That's or like, well made, I should say.
Yeah, definitely. It was really cool.
Yeah. And then is there anything that I didn't get to ask you that you would like to talk about? I think that about rounds out my questions I have.
I think more than anything, I would just want to say thank you to everybody that helped make our project happen. I mean, literally, like, multiple people came up to me and they were like, you couldn't have made this anywhere else. Like, there's no way. Like, the amount of things I would be like, I'm trying to think of an example. Like, we would need something, and I would be like, oh, for example, we needed waiters. Like, we needed these waiters for our camera guys to get in the river to like shoot a scene in the river. And I was like, I'll call my uncle. And I called my uncle and he's like, yeah, I've got waiters. And I'm like, we also need a generator. Do you have a generator? And he's like, yeah, come pick up my generator. And like everyone kind of did that. Like one night we needed a meal really late at night and nothing was open. I call a family member. My mom made us a dinner. Like we just really couldn't have done it without the support of everybody in Oregon, the businesses, the Airbnbs. I mean, everybody really just helped to make this happen. And yeah, I think I would just want to say thank you for everybody helping us out. And if anyone wants to help us in post production, let us know.
For sure. Bailey, thank you so much for chatting with me. I love getting to talk to you about this.